Yeah, the reason John Heder was barely paid for Napoleon Dynamite, and the reason they only shot for 22 days, is because they basically had no money to make this movie. They shot on location in director Jared Hess's hometown, Preston, Idaho. The cast was mostly just like his friends from school, including John Heder and Aaron Rule. A lot of the department heads on the movie were like spouses of cast members being put to work. Most of the costumes were just what they had in their closets, and the cast and crew were fed and housed by generous Preston locals. So by the time they got around to filming the climactic dance scene, they were out of time, they were out of money, and they were very nearly out of film stock. They only had one roll left, which is good enough for about 10.5 minutes of filming. And they didn't really even have any choreography either. They just said, okay, John Heder, you got 10 minutes, go out there and do your thing.
But John, he totally freestyled the whole thing. We had him dance to like 3 different songs, and we were able to cut it together, and it worked out great.
They weren't sure which songs they'd be able to get the rights to, so they had him dance to Canned Heat by Jamiroquai, Little L by Jamiroquai, and something from Off the Wall by Michael Jackson, and they ended up getting the rights to Canned Heat. John Heder said that he and Tina Majorino, who played Deb, they kind of like half choreographed the first part of the dance up until the arm raise, and from there he just kind of went off. He cites Michael Jackson, the Backstreet Boys, Saturday Night Fever, and Soul Train as either inspiration or things he just directly stole from. So huge kudos to John Heder on this dance scene. Not only is it really fun and really funny, and not only were their backs against the wall when they were filming it, both budget-wise and schedule-wise, it is also indisputably the dramatic climax of the movie, and there's a lot riding on it. If this dance scene doesn't work, then the movie doesn't work half as well. You really have to be convinced that an auditorium full of high schoolers would react this way. And I completely do. The dance scene rules, and the movie rules.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me for this weekend edition of Conversations with Taz. There was a lot that we weren't able to cover this week because I did miss a day, but we're going to wrap it all up. We're going to get into it. We're going to start with coming from thehill.com. Kushner, meaning Jared Kushner, in new book claims Kelly shoved Ivanka Trump. Jared Kushner, former President Trump's son-in-law and top White House advisor in his administration, claims in a new book that Trump's chief of staff, John Kelly, once shoved his wife, Ivanka Trump, after a tense Oval Office meeting. What was this, Fight Club? And why didn't you step in, Jared? You let somebody just lay hands on your wife like that? I digress. According to an excerpt of Breaking History, a White House memoir obtained by the Washington Post, Kushner writes that Kelly had a Jekyll and Hyde disposition, and only once did Kelly let his mask fully slip. One day, he had just marched out of a contentious meeting in the Oval Office, Kushner writes, according to the Post. Ivanka was walking down the main hallway in the West Wing when she passed him. Unaware of his heated state of mind, she said, "Hello, Chief." Kelly shoved her out of the way and stormed by. She wasn't hurt and didn't make a big deal about the altercation. But in his rage, Kelly had shown his true character. 0 out of 10. I don't believe that happened. As much as Trump adores and wishes he could date Ivanka, I absolutely believe she would have ran to her father. And this sounds like some kindergarten playground BS. Like, who gets out of a meeting and no. But here we go. Kushner added that Kelly later stopped by Ivanka Trump's office to offer a meek apology, which she accepted. Kelly, however, denied the account, writing in an email to the newspaper that he does not recall the episode and that he would never do something like what Kushner described. Yeah. No. All attempts, Kushner, to get into Trump's will, first of all, that will is going to be riddled with debt, okay? Learn from the situation that your parents went through. All of y'all are corrupt. Just first of all, stop trying to make money off of the Oval Office. And can y'all just fade to darkness at this point, especially given the photos of Trump that came out this weekend at the golf event that he's hosting for people who bombed this country. 9/11, never forget. I guess it's okay to forget when, Black and brown people die too. But there's going to be 2 videos talking about the GOP and Christianity, actually Christian nationalism, and then I'll see you on the flip side. See you in 2 and 2.
Best thing I've seen all day. The Bible predicted Christians would follow a false prophet and that they'd wear his mark on their foreheads.
The definition of Christian nationalism is the belief that the American nation is defined by Christianity and that the government should take active steps to keep it that way. This is a dangerous ideology that is actually contrary to the gospel of Jesus, who never tried to overtake the government. Yet that is the agenda of white Christian nationalists in the United States, and specifically in Tennessee right now. We see it in the agenda of Governor Bill Lee, and we see prime examples of Christian nationalism coming from the recent rulings of the Supreme Court. We see the influence of national groups like the Alliance Defending Freedom and Family Action Council, who claim the Christian faith, but are actually pushing a more extremist agenda. The agenda of Christian nationalists not only corrupts and misrepresents our Christian faith, it also undermines and corrupts our democracy. Insurrectionists holding Christian flags, people who claim to be pastors, such as Tennessee's own Greg Locke, have sought to align Christianity with a specific wing of a political party. This is heretical. This is dangerous. And the agenda being promoted is one that seeks the elimination of the separation of church and state, especially in our public schools. In the Gospel of John, Jesus tells his disciples, "My kingdom is not of this world." Jesus saw Christianity as embedded in the world, not seeking to control all people. I love God. I love Jesus. While we all like to see our own values and beliefs reflected in the world around us, there is a dangerous precedent when the Christian faith becomes too closely aligned with empire.
Republicans need to prove to the American people that we are the party of American nationalism and Christian nationalism. I'm a Christian. I have no problem saying I'm a Christian nationalist. And I think that's an identity that we need to embrace.
This is why words have meanings and definitions mean something. Number 1. Number 2, the irony. Let's look back historically. Because if I don't do anything, I'm going to bring you the history. Let us not forget the tremendous story that we were all taught about why colonizers, aka the Pilgrims, came to the 13 colonies and committed genocide and inflicted chattel slavery upon the world. Religious freedom. They were fleeing a then theocracy that was mixed into an aristocracy. The United States never has had a national religion. The United States has never been based in religion. They were trying hard to separate church from state intentionally because these were the radical Protestants that escaped or fled from Great Britain. They wanted the ability to practice their tyrannical Christianity as they saw fit. Now, their descendants are coming along going, we're not going to follow in the footsteps of our ancestors, so to speak, not wholeheartedly. Let's follow in the footsteps of those they ran from. So all of this, as they continuously repeat history, the next time somebody goes, what wasn't me? I wasn't around. I don't benefit from it. You're perpetuating it right now because you refuse to learn the history. So we're going to keep Groundhog Day in it. And if you all recall, Josh Hawley, Mr. Yeah, to the insurrectionists that trotted off when they breached the Capitol, it gets better. Seems like he wrote a book or he's writing a book. Y'all take a look at this.
Milky twilight, lead me out on the moonlit floor. Lift your open hand, strike up the band and make the fireflies dance. Silver moon kiss me. Kiss me down by the broken tree house. Swing me up on its hanging time. Bring.
Who knew that good old manhood means you can't kiss your wife that you chose? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the he's, theys, and she's. That is what a beard looks like. Let's get into January 6th text, because it's not just the Secret Service trying to delete text as if they can't be recovered. And Trump's request for immunity. See you in 2 and 2.
Text messages for President Donald Trump's acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf and acting Deputy Secretary Ken Cuccinelli are missing for a key period leading up to the January 6, 2021, attack on the U.S. Capitol, according to 4 people briefed on the matter and internal emails. This discovery of missing records for the senior-most Homeland Security officials, which has not been previously reported, increases the volume of potential evidence that has vanished regarding the time around the Capitol attack. It comes as both congressional and criminal investigators at the Justice Department seek to piece together an effort by Trump and his allies to overturn the results of the election, which culminated in a pro-Trump rally that became a violent riot in the halls of Congress. The Department of Homeland Security notified the agency's Inspector General in late February that Wolf's and Cuccinelli's texts were lost in a reset of their government phones when they left their jobs in January 2021 in preparation for the new Biden administration, according to an internal record obtained by the Project on Government Oversight and shared with the Washington Post. The Office of the Department's Undersecretary of Management also told the government watchdog that the text messages for its boss, Undersecretary Randolph Tex Alice, the former Secret Service director, were also no longer available due to a previously planned phone reset. The Office of Inspector General Joseph V. Kufari did not press the department leadership at that time to explain why they did not preserve these records, nor seek ways to recover the lost data, according to the 4 people briefed on the watchdog's actions. Kufari also failed to alert Congress to the potential destruction of government records. The revelation comes on the heels of the discovery that text messages of Secret Service agents, critical first-hand witnesses to the events leading up to January 6, were deleted more than a year ago and may never be recovered. The news of their missing records set off a firestorm because the texts could have corroborated the account of a former White House aide describing the president's state of mind on January 6. In one case, the aide, Cassidy Hutchinson, said a top official told her that Trump had tried to attack a senior Secret Service agent who refused to take the president to the Capitol with his supporters marching there. In a nearly identical scenario to that of the DHS leader's texts, the Secret Service alerted Kufari's office 7 months ago, in December 2021, that the agency had deleted thousands of agents' and employees' text messages in an agency-wide reset of government phones. Kufari's office did not notify Congress until mid-July, despite multiple congressional committees pending requests for these records. The telephone and text communications of Wolf and Cuccinelli in the days leading up to January 6 could have shed considerable light on Trump's actions and plans. In the weeks before the attack on the Capitol, Trump had been pressuring both men to help him claim the 2020 election results were rigged and even to seize voting machines in key swing states to try to rerun the election. It is extremely troubling that the issue of deleted text messages related to the January 6 attack on the Capitol is not limited to the Secret Service, but also includes Chad Wolf and Ken Cuccinelli, who were running DHS at the time, House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Benny G. Thompson, Democrat, Mississippi, said in a statement. It appears the DHS Inspector General has known about these deleted texts for months, but failed to notify Congress, Thompson said. If the Inspector General had informed Congress, we may have been able to get better records from senior administration officials regarding one of the most tragic days in our democracy's history. Neither Cuccinelli nor Wolf responded to requests for comment. DHS's Office of Inspector General did not immediately respond to requests for comment. On Twitter, Wolf wrote, "I complied with all data retention laws and returned all my equipment fully loaded to the department. Full stop. DHS has all my texts, emails, phone logs, schedules, etc. Any issues with missing data needs to be addressed to DHS." the discovery of missing records for the top officials running the Department of Homeland Security during the final days of the Trump administration raises new questions about what could have been learned, and about what other text messages and evidence the department and other agencies may have erased, in apparent violation of the Federal Records Act. Wolf and Cuccinelli remained at DHS as Trump openly challenged the 2020 election results, even though the agency led efforts to help state and local governments safeguard the integrity of the election results. Starting in late December, numerous DHS intelligence units across the country were warning of extremely worrisome chatter in white nationalist and pro-Trump social media platforms that were promoting coming armed to Trump's January 6 rally and using violence to block Joe Biden from becoming president. In late December, Trump railed in a cabinet meeting that his secretaries were failing to properly help him investigate fraud that had corruptly given the election to Biden, but cited unsubstantiated claims. Trump fired Christopher Krebs as director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency in a tweet after Krebs countered Trump's claims of widespread election fraud, and he complained that Wolf should have moved faster to force Krebs out. On New Year's Eve of 2020, Trump also called Cuccinelli to pressure him to seize voting machines in swing states and help him block the peaceful transfer of power. Trump falsely told him that the acting attorney general had just said that it was Cuccinelli's job to seize voting machines and you're not doing your job. Cuccinelli was in Washington on the day of the attack and toured the Capitol that night to survey the damage. Wolf was on an official trip to the Middle East. After the Capitol attack, several lawmakers called for hearings into why DHS had failed to anticipate the threat Trump supporters posed to Congress on the day lawmakers and Vice President Mike Pence planned to certify the election results. Wolf resigned 5 days after the attack on the Capitol, citing recent events as well as legal rulings questioning his legitimacy to continue leading the department as an acting secretary for 14 months. Effective 11:59 p.m. today, I am stepping down as your acting secretary, Wolf wrote in a message to the department. I am saddened to take this step, as it was my intention to serve the department until the end of this administration. In an interview days later with CNN's Wolf Blitzer, the departing acting secretary said Trump bore some responsibility for the events of January 6. I was disappointed that the president didn't speak out sooner on that. I think he had a role to do that. I think, unfortunately, the administration lost a little bit of the moral high ground on this issue by not coming out sooner on it, he said of Trump not swiftly condemning the violence. A Government Accountability Office report in 2020 found that Wolf and Cuccinelli were ineligible to serve in their positions because their appointments had not followed the proper order of succession, an issue the GAO referred to the DHS Office of Inspector General. Unlike Trump, Wolf did not dispute the election results and said DHS was preparing for the orderly and smooth transition to President-elect Biden's DHS team. Welcome them, educate them, and learn from them, Wolf said then. They are your leaders for the next 4 years, a time which undoubtedly will be full of challenges and opportunities to show the American.
The walls are closing in as much as Trump is running out of room to throw ketchup. Trump has asked the judge to give him absolute immunity from January 6 lawsuits. In a brief filed in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, the former president's attorney claimed President Trump is shielded by absolute presidential immunity because his statements were on matters of public concern. Trump's legal team argued that impeachment is the only means of punishing a president for abuse, and attempts by others to sue him are tantamount to harassment. You guys can pause to read the rest later, but how? How does a guy who demands equal time, by the way, claim he's innocent?
Privilege. Privilege. The tangerine tyrant has privilege. If this country has shown you nothing else, it will show you, it will make 1,000,001 excuses to exonerate a privileged person. If you're the complexion for protection, they are going to protect you, even if they don't like you or get along with you. But he was involved in treason. Hence the DOJ finally coming out recently and admitting that he's being investigated. But let's get into the rest of these.
You want me to what?
Turn yourself over into U.S. custody, along with the rest of us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Meet us at the coordinates I'm sending first. We should all go over together. This is the single dumbest plan I've ever heard. If you're feeling guilty, clear your own name. Don't stand on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to do it.
We've already voted. 5 in favor.
6.
You have to come with us, Bruce.
I don't have to do anything. I'm a part-timer, remember?
Once again, comics will always give you social commentary. I pulled this clip that was sent to me because when the moment that Roe v. Wade was overturned, the amount of crazed and dazed white women begging and pleading for Black women online to join the fight. We're all in this together. Girl, this is not High School Musical. I was part of a human during the Black Lives Matter protest. I was part of a human when medical apartheid was affecting me and other members of the BIPOC community. Nah, you got this. You voted amongst your fellow handmaids. Let's keep going.
Y'all remember hate preacher Greg Locke? Well, some members say that they saw angel wings on him this past Sunday in the form of his back sweat. And I'm not kidding. Today, Greg himself posted this, pause to read, and here's the close-up of these definitely not gross at all angel wings. And let's read the comments. My husband and I looked at each other at the same time and said, "He's got wings!" Your shoulders were wet too. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. You're a tough bunch over there. God bless you. Thank you for dressing up God, Pastor Greg. Wow, he's already earned his wings. Truly a man of God. So thankful you wear a suite on Sundays. That's respect for the Lord. The church I went to wore anything. Why would one want to look like the world? I see the breastplate of righteousness. The people laughing are abominations. Just scroll. No need to let the world know how your hearts and brains do not function properly. Pastor Locke, I just want you to know what I saw when I looked at this. I actually saw a spine, and it felt like it was a strong spine. God was letting us see a man of God with backbone. And a quick reminder that this is what they're talking about. So Greg Locke and his followers found my video where I talk about his back sweat angel wings because this lovely lady shared it on Facebook. Let's read the comments. Oh well, people just like to hear the sales talk. No, our congregation didn't believe his angel wings. The whole point was I was preaching an angel army, so it was a cool coincidence for people to see. This is why we can't have nice things. LOL. The internet is always mad about something. This woman sounds like she's possessed by demons. What a crazy woman. Get a life. Amen. Maybe her pastor doesn't work up a sweat. Lady, get a life. Only demo rats would think like you. If all you backbitters don't like him, no one is forcing you to watch. How pathetic, disrespectful, and sad. You really must be a completely miserable person to post such. Actually, you remind me of Jen Psaki and have the same venom coming out of your mouth that she did every time she opened hers. Yep, she needs deliverance from those demons. Just watch her face and you can see them. Many, the demons, fear Pastor Greg. She shouldn't make fun of a man of God. The Lord doesn't like that. Remember the comedian that made fun of Jesus and she dropped and lost conscious? So I suggest you heed these words. Mocking God will never work in your favor, heathen. Quick reminder, folks, she a demon in nature human form. I'm sensing a trend.
So what happened to keep your light trimmed and burning? What happened to always be on the ready for the return of the bridegroom? What happened to lead by example? Now everything is pomp and circumstance and there's a hidden message in everything. You know what? This reminds me of the woman who claimed she saw Jesus in a pancake. And then the woman who said she saw Jesus in toast and then they couldn't eat the toast. And these things made a nationwide tour. Nothing boggles my mind more than bastardized United States Christianity. The Protestant religions of the United States are unmatched. They are unmatched and unhinged. The remix over here is woo. You know what? Look, megachurch pastors, y'all are not P. Diddy from the mid to late 90s. Just I know he told you that he won't stop. Can y'all stop? Because these remixes, like y'all started in the 1600s and y'all just keep remixing. Like he went from allowing people to believe he had angel wings of sweat growing out of his back to it was just sweat. I was just delivering you need to deliver more sermons and put the collection plate out more times because you lost that tax exempt status for, no longer separating church from state. And here's a little cliff note, you guys, a little asterisk, if you will. If you find a church, mega or no, that is encouraging or speaking on political things from the pulpit or involving themselves in political campaigns, parades, etc., you can report them to the IRS and have their tax exempt revoked. Just a little nugget. Hey, not all heroes wear capes, but every hero drinks coffee. Let's go on to the next one.
If all lives matter, then Black Lives Matter. But not all Black Lives Matter with Black Lives Matter. That's right, the BLM organization protests the killing of blacks by police in disputed circumstances. But that doesn't account for young blacks that are gunned down every day by gang violence, nor does it account for the 19 million black babies that have been aborted since 1973, that account for 30% of all abortions, while blacks only make up 13.4% of the population. BLM would stand for a criminal who was killed by police, but never once has stood for an unborn black babies killed or black youth murdered by gang violence. They also haven't donated money to black businesses that were burned down in BLM peaceful protests. They have, however, bought some really nice real estate. So if you think saying all lives matter is racist, you just checked into the Hypocrisy Hotel, population U. If all lives matter, then Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, then Black Lives Matter.
This is what we're going to do. I got two of these back to back. We're going to break this down, okay? Class is in session. I have my glasses on. Let's come together, students, and let us read. Let's play back this tomfoolery.
But not all Black Lives Matter with Black Lives Matter. That's right, the BLM organization protests the killing of blacks by police in disputed.
First of all, it is black people, not blacks. This is not 1952. Jim Crow, North and South, has been eradicated for the most part, overtly and covertly, as far as we know at this point in time, because there's no, we'll go into that later. So that's what we're going to do. And it's almost as if organizations for black people have specific targets. They have a specific purpose. You all keep talking about the Black Lives Matter movement and the Black Lives Matter organization, not realizing that they're two separate entities, but you never bring up the Rainbow Coalition, NAACP, SCLC, the Southern, never mind, y'all don't know, or anything else. But, Black Lives Matter does have a focus, as it should, just as the Urban League has a focus. The NAACP has a focus. But let's keep going, Mr. Appropriated Matlocks. But let's go.
Circumstances. But that doesn't account for young blacks that are gunned down every day by gang violence, nor does it account for the 19.
Let's stop right there. That's because there are grassroots, black-led, black-focused organizations that are regional, citywide, countywide, that are doing the good work and getting in good trouble to decrease the amount of gang and gun violence within predominantly black or BIPOC communities. But you wouldn't know anything about that. The only thing you researched was cultural appropriation and trying to educate black people on black issues, trying to be in black business that you have no idea about. Let me guess. You just recently discovered lotion and now you're slugging with the rest of your bath day bros. But come on, let me guess. Next up, abortion. Let's go.
Million black babies that have been aborted since 1973, that account for 30% of all abortions, while blacks only make up 13.4% of the population.
It's almost as if you want the Black Lives Matter movement and the Black Lives Matter organization to jump into the realm of time travel and go back and take away the choices of black women who are already systematically raped, not given proper justice, health care, die most often in childbirth. You didn't look up those statistics, do you? What's the percentage of black women who become high risk or don't make it out of the hospital after giving birth? You don't know? You don't. Is that crickets? And before you go on, because I heard the rest of your garble, you talk about Planned Parenthood, because you all never pay attention to all of the services anybody gives. So I live in a fairly good neighborhood. I have been extremely blessed and extremely lucky to have consistently lived in very good neighborhoods that have had hospitals, doctors' offices right at my fingertips. A lot of times I could walk there or take a very, very short drive and I could get the best of the best in my area. A lot of people do not have that. And you act as if we're still segregated and it's only Black people in these neighborhoods. No, but if I live next to a waterfall that provides me with fresh water, I really wouldn't need an irrigation system or a fountain right next to it. No. So Planned Parenthood that's giving comprehensive birth control, comprehensive checkups, education, and actually better programs and resources than birthing centers or pregnancy centers, you have a problem with? Because a lot of these Planned Parenthoods that you all are protesting don't even provide abortions. And a lot of doctors' offices that you frequent or walk right past do. And they're fetuses, embryos, if you will, not babies. Babies become babies and become human beings at their first breath, whether biblically or scientifically. First breath. But if you want to campaign about a clump of cells, okay. And remember that one drop rule that your ancestors implemented? Who said that all of these babies would be 100% Black? It's just like when you all like to throw out that statistic about how many children are out here out of a fatherless home. Not being in the same home with the child does not mean that that child is fatherless. And just because the mother is a certain race doesn't mean the father is a certain race. That's why you all's numbers are dwindling right now, and you're freaking out because you're terrified of becoming the statistical minority within the United States because you know how you treat minorities, and you are projecting upon the rest of us in the BIPOC community that we will do that to you. Sweetheart, if we wanted revenge, we could have already done that 100 times over. So you're assuming that each abortion that was had was A, a viable birth, B, was without duress, and C, was the product of a Black man and a Black woman. As if a bunch of y'all wasn't still humping around and hunching us without consent. Let's go through a few more of these videos before I get to my next read class. Here we go.
Please pause to read. This means that hospitals are refusing to do contact tracing because of the terrible guidance by the CDC. This is not a gay man's disease. This is not an STD. Please stay safe.
This is COVID 2.0. Disinformation spreading, improper testing, improper treatment. This is going to be, I said it before, saying it again. We are at ground zero for the zombie apocalypse at this point. Yes, I am being slightly facetious, but think about it. If people are unwilling to test and treat for monkeypox, when they can look at their eyes and see that this is monkeypox, let's further confirm the diagnosis and get treatment started because someone is not a homosexual or bisexual male, because they are spotlighting and pinpointing men within the LGBTQIA plus community as if it's an STI or an STD. So please, director of the CDC, who obviously has some type of political gain and political aspirations on the horizon, to ignore the science and the science-based career that you chose and the science-based promotions that you received in order to become the director of the Center for Disease Control within the United States. Please explain to me how a woman staying in an Airbnb contracted monkeypox from a couch. And if we're going to just say stupid stuff, change the classification for smallpox that is popping back up. Is that now an STI? Is chickenpox now an STI? Because chickenpox, as it's been explained, is fairly close as far as contractability as monkeypox. But let's go on to our next video.
Well, it now seems like the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade leaker was a right-winger. Remember when the leak first took place and Republicans and Fox News and everybody was saying the left-winger who leaked this must be charged with a crime? What crime? They couldn't tell us because there wasn't one, but they were convinced it was a left-winger. And I said, let's think about it a little more carefully. Could have been a left-winger who wanted to leak the decision to try to pressure people to coerce the justices to change their votes to preserve Roe v. Wade. But it just as easily could have been a right-winger who caught wind that there were some votes to overturn Roe v. Wade that were soft votes, that maybe were thinking of changing their mind, and they wanted to try to prevent them from doing so. And now we have a new report which says exactly that. It turns out that at the time that the opinion was leaked, Brett Kavanaugh was maybe going to be swayed by John Roberts into voting to preserve Roe v. Wade. And someone caught wind of that and leaked the decision. It was almost certainly a right-winger.
I kind of figured that this leak was I want to strong arm you into making the decision that I want you to make. From a little consensus that I've seen formulating online, seems like the vast majority of everyone is thinking that Jeannie Thomas leaked this. She is the wife of SCOTUS Thomas, Clarence Thomas. And he seems to cover for her and let her get away with anything. So we'll see when she's already been put on notice. We'll see if that's part of the questioning that they have for her when the January 6th committee reconvenes in September. But on to the next one.
It's been reported that the PBS show Finding Your Roots helped Joe Manganiello unlock his family's mystery. So what would be that news, you say, that caused the host Henry Louis Gates Jr. to call Joe before the show was taped to inform him about the information so he wouldn't find on air? It was that his paternal grandfather was not his grandfather. The show found out that Joe's paternal grandfather was actually a black man of mixed race. And Joe said that was so fascinating. And then they also told him that he was 0% genetically related to anybody with the last name that he had. They also found out that his fifth great-grandfather, who was a slave, became free before slavery was abolished outside of Massachusetts, where Joe's father was actually born outside of Boston, and his family came from Italy. He also found out that he had a distant relative who joined the Continental Army and fought alongside other blacks against the Brits in non-segregated troops. He said none of us would have guessed it even if we had 10 years worth of guessing. If Manganiello's not my last name, then what is it? Y'all tell me.
And this is what I mean when I say a lot of people really do not know their family history. A lot of people have been lied to. A lot of people have received cover stories due to people being able to passe blanche. And if you're not sure of what passe blanche is, basically you're able to be white passing. You're able to pass through society and not receive the heavy discrimination and be able to live at certain points in time. So this is why I say a lot of times what you believe your heritage is not. Just like when 23andMe first came out, there were a lot of people that were like, Mama, Papa, I thought we were... Because keep in mind, there were a lot of Nazi sympathizers that went to South America and then came to the United States and told their families that that's where they originated from. And there are a lot of people who truly believe that they are part of the Latine community. And they're not. They're just Anglo-Saxon. Because just as much as people are white passing, a lot of people are faux BIPOC. And they don't even know it. But,
Okay, hello.
We have... What is going on here? Let's move that over. Okay. There we go.
You know how we've all been saying that the Akron Police Department has been trying to cover up the murder of Jalen Walker, and that they've been doing everything within their power to protect these officers? Well, yesterday the Akron Beacon Journal published an article showing just that. After they received incomplete records several weeks ago, they had to get their attorneys involved because clearly Akron was withholding public records, which is illegal. And in those missing records, it shows that one of the Akron police officers that killed Jalen Walker was also involved in an incident where he shot at a suspect and 2 civilians were wounded. That same exact officer also had 8 different citizen complaints against him, ranging from racial bias to wrongful arrest and excessive force. But upon the police investigating the police, they found that all of these claims were unsubstantiated. All 8 claims were bogus to them. And this is why the police need to stop investigating themselves. Because 3 of the other officers also had a combined 4 complaints against them. And apparently the police department found that those were also unsubstantiated. So the officer that had the 8 citizen complaints against him were for excessive use of force, arrest without cause, officers' actions within the law, false statements, racial bias, and another tagged other, and 2 for courtesy dealing with the public. 8 different complaints are a lot for people to just make up. And since the police were investigating themselves, I don't trust what they have to say. I mean, these are not minor complaints. False statements, that's a pretty big complaint. Racial bias, that's a pretty big complaint. Excessive use of force, also a pretty big complaint. But of course, when the police are allowed to investigate themselves, they're going to say that all of this is bogus and that the person was lying. Personally, I don't believe in that many coincidences. And when there are that many complaints against one single officer, there has to be at least some truth to that, at the bare minimum. If you want to read the other complaints, here they are. What was the confusion over the records? Spoiler alert, there was no confusion. Literally, the newspaper had to engage their attorney because the city was denying public records. Which, by the way, is the exact same thing that the city of Canton and the Canton Police Department did to try to cover up the identity of Robert Huber, who killed James Williams in January. So someone from the city said that they only provided the records from Human Resources, and apparently the only things that go to Human Resources are records of use of force like gunfire, if the officer faced disciplinary action. And since we already know that they investigated themselves and said that the claims were unsubstantiated, those would not be with Human Resources. There's just so much sketch going on that I can't even fit into this video with the police and the city trying to hide stuff, so.
But they're here to protect and serve, right? Oh, no, that's right. SCOTUS said that they have no duty to protect nor serve us. We also know that it's not within a police officer's job description to solve a crime, prevent a crime, or do anything. They can't solve a crime because the vast majority of the criminals committing the crimes are them. And that's why they work so hard to cover things up. Why do you think so many police departments have PR firms on retainer? Why would a civil servant need a PR firm? It's not like you can shop around for a police department or a police officer. Ay, caramba. Well, let's get into this second read of the day. Everyone have their glasses on? Pens, paper? Let's open these books. Here we go.
I want to make sure I got this correct. You hate white men unless they're gay.
Who said we hate white men? And who said that we love gay white men? We hate racists, and gay white men can be problematic and racist. It's called intersectionality and nuance. But let's go on, pink cheeks.
You love black people unless they're conservative.
Well, I'm black, so I'm partial to black people and other people of the BIPOC community. But no, you can be conservative, black, brown, indigenous, Asian, and not be problematic. It's when you decide to be an agent of white supremacy and, be conservative, because there are conservative Democrats and conservative independents. You do know that, right? Oh, you don't, Pink Cheeks. Let's keep it going.
You're for illegal immigration as long as they don't come into your home.
We are for having sanctuary cities and being what the United States promotes and publicizes itself to be, just like your grandfathers and grandmothers and probably a few parents out there that you love to say, came through Ellis Island, or they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps when they got here from Italy, Poland, Saskatchewan. And what immigrant is coming in to the country and coming right into my house and plopping down on the couch? There's a difference between immigration and breaking and entering. That was a weird that was a weird comparison, but let's keep going, Pink Cheeks.
You want to ban guns, but you want the government to still have theirs.
Well, military should have guns, because I don't want to join the military to protect this country. Plus, I'm 45. I'm kind of tired. I really don't want to fight anymore. Plus, most of my time is spent fighting you all in real life and fighting for legislation. So, and nobody wants to take the guns from everyday citizens. We just feel like everyday citizens shouldn't have military grade weaponry, because what's the point of that outside of living out your murderous fantasies? But okay, Pink Cheeks.
You hate capitalism, but you expect these corporations to change their logo for Pride Month.
That's inclusion. We have no choice but to accept capitalism, because, when y'all came over here way back when, and you began the capitalism within the United States with chattel slavery, it's kind of the foundation of this country. Hence the fact that there are certain states right now whose economy is on the verge of collapsing because that school to prison pipeline is shutting down, and the free slave labor that they have isn't as abundant as they were before. So wanting inclusion, just another weird comparison, Pink Cheeks. But come on, Watermelon Wally, what else you got?
You hated slavery, so you hate the party that was formed to abolish the slaves.
There was no party that was formed to abolish slavery. And I love how you all conveniently leave out the other parties that existed and the whole party switch, because we no longer have the Dixiecrats. We no longer have the Democrat Republicans. We no longer have the Whig Party. There's so many that go on from there. But you all are the same people who will still tout that Abraham Lincoln was a Republican, when Abraham Lincoln started the Democratic Republican Party and ran on that and won on that, and then it dissolved shortly after his assassination. But y'all never want to talk about that. See, the Democrats used to have the platform of the Republicans, and the Republicans used to have the platform of the Democrats. And then you have the Dixiecrats, who were extreme. But that is a time for another day, babe, because I don't have all the time right now to break that down for you. But, they did switch swap, because when you say conservative now, you don't really mean somebody with conservative ideologies and morals. It's just a dog whistle for racist, transphobic, homophobic, sexist, misogynistic piece of shit. But let's keep going, Wally.
You hated slavery, but you align with the party that was for keeping slaves.
I think we already covered that, but that's okay. I feel like there is a plantation that is still owned by your family. I feel like, yeah, and I feel like you're just upset because they're not giving you a piece of the pie. But let's keep going, Cherry Cheeks.
You don't recognize two genders unless you're talking about their hormones.
Okay. You failed basic freshman high school biology. That's evident. And I'm going to go out on the limb and say that you did not take any other science classes past freshman year in high school. No anatomy and physiology, no college level biology, definitely not AP courses in high school, because there's a whole, gender is not binary. And there are quite a few genders that are out there. Scientists have proven this time and time again. And we're not the ones out here talking about people's hormones. It's generally, you weird GOP conservatives and misogynistic men who try to weaponize hormones against women because you say that we're hormonal while you all are on the floor rolling around throwing a hissy fit every 2.6 seconds. And you're trying to prevent anyone from taking hormones in order to properly transition. And you all don't even understand how testosterone blockers or hormones work, but you still get your box of briefs in a tizzy for absolutely no reason. But cherry cheeks, let's keep going.
You hate American values, but yet you want to still live here.
Well, what exactly are American values? Because what I know historically are American values are owning people, killing people, stealing things, rewriting history, taking ownership of things that aren't yours, raping, pillaging, and throwing stones and hiding your hand. And living in a country does not mean you have to agree with everything that the country does, especially when a country declared its independence and wrote an entire document with amendments saying that, hey, it is okay to peacefully protest, criticize the country, amend the country, and make it better for once, so that maybe one day this country can live up to the greatness that it promotes itself to be. You didn't study history either, did you? You were in those remedial classes in the basement where you lick the windows, huh? Okay, let's keep it going.
Your party controls the House, the Senate, and the presidency, but it's everyone else's fault.
Okay, by my party, I'm going to assume you mean the Democratic Party, because you seem to think that, you got to be one or the other, you got to be independent or free thinking, but you do realize that filibusters exist. You do realize what just happened this week, where Republicans just wanted to stick it to the Democrats, so they in fact stuck it to cancer-ridden vets that they use as talking points, and these people put their bodies on the line for, as you all would say it, your freedoms and rights. But when was the last time we actually had a war over our freedoms or our rights? And I mean the country as a whole, not just black and brown people. Okay, Rudolph Cheeks, let's keep it moving.
You hated the Trump administration, but you're concerned for Mike Pence's life.
Okay, realizing that we had an incredibly corrupt administration with POTUS 45 does not mean that we just want people randomly murdered. We're not Klansmen. You know that, right? Let's keep going.
You say black people can't be racist, but Candace Owens, Thomas Sowell, and Larry Elder are white supremacists.
Racism involves systems of racism and a power dynamic. Please tell me where black people have a power dynamic over anyone else in this country. Where do we have systems of oppression that are set up strictly to benefit us? Okay. And you do not have to be white in order to uphold the tenets or be an agent of white supremacy. You just have to believe it and regurgitate it and work fervently for the downfall of black and brown and indigenous people within the United States. And you seem to keep trying to have all these gotcha moments. You're just regurgitating talking points from OAN, Breitbart, QAnon, and Fox Entertainment News. But let's keep going on, Rosie Rudy.
You want to ban guns to save children, but keep abortion to murder them.
Okay, once again, I thought we already went over this whole banning thing. Just assault rifles. What do you need an assault rifle for? You can't hunt with it. And did you forget what happened in Uvalde to the point where they had to use DNA testing because of what a semi-automatic military-grade weapon, well, pseudo-military-grade weapon, did to these children? And embryos and fetuses are not children. They become children when they take their first breath. But are you really concerned about all the children that are sitting in the adoption system or in foster care, unadopted, or adopted or out in homes or group homes in the foster care system that are being neglected, used for money, used as tokens, abused, murdered, essayed, etc., etc.? Okay, come on, cherry cheekboneless.
Comment if I missed anything.
Yeah, you missed history, common sense, nuance, American history, world history, biology, anatomy and physiology, basic science, constitutional law, ethics, comprehension skills, grammar, English. Were you homeschooled? I feel like you were homeschooled. I feel like you were homeschooled by a bridge troll. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe just a little bit. So, but as always, thank you all for joining me, especially for this bonus episode. Don't forget, tonight we are viewing Scarlet the miniseries from 1994, part 2. That will start, link is in the bio, on Zoom in 33 minutes. I'll see you there. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one.